Hi, my name is Kevin and I collect old irons. We have in previous videos talked about PITCA, the Pressing Iron and Trivet Collectors of America, an organization of members around the United States and the world of people who collect pressing irons and trivets. And we are at a national meeting of that organization. The full meeting is about 3 days long. The first day is an auction, and then the second and third day is a collection of touring places in Pittsburgh, talking to people, watching presentations, buying, selling, viewing other people's collections, all kinds of stuff. There are people here from 13 different states, about 50 people altogether, and what we'd like to do is just give you a little bit of information about this particular meeting and meet some of the members. I am with Rick from Wisconsin, a dear friend of mine interested in some of the same things I collect. Rick, how long have you been collecting old irons?
Oh boy, probably about 30 years, I would say so, something like that.
And this is a loaded question, guys. What's your favorite group of irons?
That would be Nelson R. Streeter.
Nelson R. Streeter.
Nelson R. Streeter.
How was our video? Was our video good enough?
It was good.
Okay.
Very, very good. Very good.
What's your favorite iron?
Well, it's probably the 1877 Nelson R. Streeter combination fluter, polisher, and a smoothing iron, all in one.
And I happen to know that you've got one of those.
Yeah, I do. It's probably his most magnificent piece, in my opinion.
That's the one I just bought at the auction too.
Exactly.
So I just upgraded with a new specimen, and I gave my older specimen, since you passed on a lot of your collection to other people, to get you sort of restarted in this, right?
Yeah.
We all work together here. We all know what we like. How many times have you and I sent emails back and forth? Have you seen this such and such item on eBay, and do you know much about this?
Long time.
So forth. We are and again, we're not just speaking for this organization, we're talking about collectors organizations in general. If you collect something, believe it or not, there are other people who collect that, and there probably is an organization of such collectors. Look around, there's lots more people you can talk to. This is Joyce. She's from Texas and traveled a long way to this meeting. Mm-hmm. How long have you been collecting?
Oh, a little bit more than 40 years, but it started as very innocent little things. The sad irons that you could pick up at an antique store for $2, and you just kind of put them in front of the door.
We call those gateway drugs, right?
It took me about 10 years after that before I actually bought any interesting irons. I was on a business trip to Europe, and I had a free weekend. I was in Amsterdam and went into a couple of antique shops. And I saw things I'd never seen before. Getting something that was a brass slug iron, that was a novelty. So I think I picked up maybe 8 or 10 on that trip, but I had to ship them back in a big box because they didn't fit in my suitcase.
Okay, Kate has a rule that I can buy as many irons as I can carry.
Well, that's a pretty good rule.
So what's your favorite group?
I don't really have many in groups. What I'm trying to do in my collection is get something that's an example of many different things.
So a representative collection then?
A representative collection.
Pretty much what I try to do as well.
Yeah.
How many irons do you have altogether?
I have 207 pieces, and of that, some 25 or so are trivets.
And how many PITCA meetings have you been to?
I think 6, plus an international conference. We went to Germany a couple of years ago, and we're looking forward to going to the one in Spain, which I hope will happen next year. The meetings are really good times to get to talk to people who have the same, maybe you call it disease, this iron collecting disease that I have.
This is Jim from Michigan. Jim, how long have you been collecting Saturns?
No, we've been collecting them about 12 years now.
So you're sort of still a beginning collector, or you feel pretty advanced now?
I would say we're medium.
How many do you have in your collection?
About 200.
Okay, that's good. What's your favorite group?
Well, myself, I like the machine fluters.
I like the machine fluters too. And so you like the Susan R. Knox irons?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. What got you started?
My wife didn't collect anything, and I'm an ardent collector of other things, Japanese samurai sword guards. meteorites, all kinds of stuff. Well, in order to keep her happy, I thought she better be collecting something. I can't go spending all the money on collection, which she's not. So I introduced her to irons in a left-handed way, and she picked up on it, and we've been going at it together ever since. The way we got started was with inexpensive $5 irons that are readily available in any antique store, and then we kind of progressed. Once we had a few of them, we had to go to something a little bit more scarce. And it just progressed and, of course, got out of hand after a while. And now we're looking at irons that cost in the hundreds or thousands of dollars. So it's an interesting, very interesting collection. You learn a lot. The more you get, the more you research, and very, very nice collection.
DJ was a past president at the last meeting that I went to 3 years ago. How long have you been collecting antique irons?
Since I was about 7.
Since about 7?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I used to stay with my great-grandmother holidays and summers, and she had a wood-burning stove, and she had a Saturn that sat on the back shelf of that wood-burning stove, and I would always ask, what is that, what is that? And one time she gave it to me, and I brought it home, and I didn't think too much about it. Then a few years later, my grandmother gave me my Aunt Belle's iron, and it was painted, and it was a Saturn, what we call door stops, and I was hooked.
How many pieces do you have in your collection?
Probably a couple hundred.
Okay, and what's your favorite group?
Smalls.
You like the smalls now?
Mm-hmm.
Is that just small irons or the toy irons?
Both. Small
Okay.
irons and toy irons.
Hi, I'm speaking to Jay. He lives in New Jersey. Jay has been longtime editor of Pressing News, which is I call it a magazine that's printed out by PITCA and included in the dues. Jay, how long have you been collecting irons?
I started sometime in the early 1980s.
And I have to ask this question.
Yeah.
What is your favorite group?
I collect principally electric irons. That's where I started. I was collecting irons made in the 1930s and 40s when they were streamlined. But now my interest has grown back towards the very earliest electric irons, which are circa 1890.
And Jay also has a website on electric irons, and we'll be sure to include a link to this. Jay, what's your favorite iron?
I don't have any favorites. I have lots of favorites. Well, Nat Monarch of St. Louis made a steam iron called the Steam King. I think they made it in 1939. Apparently they didn't make very many because it's very hard to find. But it's constructed like a tank. It just the production cost of it must have been phenomenal. It also cost quite a bit of money, but so it's quite a machine and it's quite beautiful. That's one of my favorites.
This is Madeline from Oregon. Madeline, how long have you been collecting Saturns?
25 years.
25 years. What got you started collecting irons?
And as I bought one to put on a wood stove. And then I was in an antique shop and I found a polishing iron. And I didn't know what a polishing iron was, so I went looking for information. And what I found was Dave Iron's first book.
Mm-hmm.
And I got that in the mail, and I looked at all those pictures, and my eyes get about this big around. And we were taking a trip down to California, and Bill said, well, why don't we just stop at a few antique stores and see what we can find? And I said, okay. And so we came home with, a half a dozen irons and maybe a half a dozen trivets or so, and it was wonderful.
And how many do you own now?
If you count just irons,
Yeah.
and I count irons as things that could be used, or the small toy iron, it's close to 1,800.
That's a lot of irons. Whereas I have a very tolerant wife, you have a very tolerant husband.
Oh yes, oh yes. He is an aider and abetter.
What is your favorite group of irons?
I don't know if I really have one. I really like the infinite variety and all the different categories, and I've tried to get a little bit of a lot of things. I like the old ones and just the different mechanisms and the different ways they were heated and the art on some of them, and they're pieces of beauty that people would use and then set on a mantle and enjoy the rest of the time.
I'm with Jim and Robin from Kentucky. Jim has helped me a lot on some of the previous videos. Jim, how long have you been collecting irons?
We've been collecting irons since the early 1980s.
And this has always been together?
Yes.
So one question fits to both of you. And how long have you been a member of PITCA?
Probably 25 years.
Okay. And let me ask individually, and we'll see if there's agreement or not. Jim, what's your favorite group of irons?
That's a hard question.
It is.
I like different ones at different times.
Okay.
I like some of the European irons because they're just beautiful, most of them.
Do you have a favorite iron?
It varies from time to time. We have several favorites.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
They're all a memory.
I'll agree that's a question I myself have a tough time answering.
Collecting irons has been kind of a journey. We've met a lot of close friends as a result of that. And after we joined PITCA, which was actually MSICC at the time, it opened our eyes up to a lot of the more unusual irons and the more scarce irons.
And we were lucky enough to meet Buck and Marty Carson and Dave and Sue Irons, who graciously showed us their collections, and it gave us new things to look for.
I am with Jim, who is the present president of PITCA. Jim, how long have you been collecting irons?
For about 12 years now.
What's your favorite? What's your favorite group of irons?
No, I really like fluters. Just something about the design of the machine fluters and some of the different hand fluters.
Yeah. I have Debbie and John here, and how did you get started?
I would say my mom gave me a small iron for Christmas one year, and that kind of started it. And then John went to an auction in Kansas City and brought home some wonderful treasures.
They had a convention in Kansas City, and they had an auction down there. Well, I didn't know anything about irons. I mean, why would I go down there? And these Gillis, and there's a couple of them there that got talking to me. I said, well, I don't know what I'm looking at. And they said, well, here, we'll show you what to look for. This one's been repaired, this hasn't. And then they said, well, when the auction starts, come over and sit next to me, and I'll kind of direct you a little bit.
It was Lonnie Sinclair.
Oh, Lonnie Sinclair and Gillis.
And yeah, Richard Gillis.
Richard Gillis. And
They constitute quite the gang.
and they sat there, and like I said, they sat there and just kind of, oh yeah, that's a good one. We'll pick out a variety for you. I think you'll like them. And that's kind of how I got started. I had a couple boxes of them, several boxes by the time I got done, and took them home, and that's got us started. And
They're probably the nicest irons I have. It's the ones that he brought, and they helped him pick out. And I like smalls because they don't take up quite
So you
as
like
much space.
the small irons or the toy irons or both?
Toy irons, I guess.
Hello, I'm with Louisa, and you're from Maine?
I'm from China, Maine.
China, Maine. How long have you been collecting old irons?
Ever since we went to your bed and breakfast in Caribou, Maine, and we saw this bed and breakfast that said the Old Iron Inn. So we thought that was some railroad inn. We're also interested in railroads. It turned out not to be railroads, and I got hooked on these irons because it's astounding and very interesting, just very interesting.
This might be a warning to everybody else out there. They are addictive.
Right, and I've been a seamstress all my life, so it kind of connects to this other hobby of mine.
How many irons did you have as of a week ago?
Probably about 20 or 25.
That many already?
Yeah.
And how many do you have now?
I added something less than 10. I only bought 4 of them. But this place is amazingly generous, and people have been very kind to me and given me many irons, including you. You've given me many irons.
We are very glad to have some new blood in our small interest here. And do you have a favorite group yet?
So I love fluting irons, and I seem to have developed an interest in liquid fuel irons. I'm with Gary from Wisconsin, and Gary, you have just been elected
the incoming president of PITCA. Congratulations.
On the record, yes.
So how long have you been collecting irons?
I started back kind of mid-90s, I guess. Well, that's actually when I joined PITCA. I had started collecting prior to that. My parents, my mom and dad, were collecting back through their later years, and I just kind of went along with that, helping my father out. It was just kind of a fun thing. So my collection started to grow, and then as my parents passed on, I acquired their collection, added it to my wife's and my collection, and these conventions with the auctions are really fabulous. The items that we're seeing here that are available, a lot of them are sold on the internet, but the members are still picking up a lot of real quality pieces that you just don't see by going to antique stores.
So how big is your collection? How many pieces do you have?
Total collection is probably over 500 items. Over 400 are irons,
Okay.
per se. So yeah,
So
it's
your
got a medium-sized collection.
What is your favorite group?
You know, I don't really have a favorite. There are so many different types of irons. I really like a nice variety of each. And there's something about each type that is enjoyable. I don't get stuck on just one thing, this is all I focus on, because the other ones are unique in themselves. So, yeah, we do enjoy a variety.
And how many irons did you add to your collection these last couple days ago?
14.
14?
Yeah, yes.
I think I've done, again, about the same.
About the same, I think
thing,
we all
yes.
did, yeah. There was a lot that we didn't get, but certainly some that we're really proud to take home. Yeah.
So what, of the irons you bought or added to your collection the last couple of days, and I'm sure you had an iron or two that you were really excited to get out of the auction, what was the best one?
I never had any mangle boards or a washing bat. So my goal here was to get at least one of each.
Yeah?
And I did, but I ended up with 3 mangle boards and 1 washing bat. And they're really beautiful.
There were some very, very good pieces, yes.
Beautiful pieces that were sold, but I think we did pretty good.
Well, we are looking forward to a very active presidency and many things, and we wish you the very best. And
Yeah.
thank you for a lot, and we hope to see
look
some of the
forward.
viewers here at next year's meeting.
We're looking to bring in as many new members, and if this helps to get some inspiration out there to people, we welcome them. There's lots to do, and we have a lot of fun, and there's a lot of irons to look at. They're exciting.